Hello, everyone. This is Eric Anderson, host of the YXC Underground podcast, with a very special bonus episode for you. I'm with someone who I've been a fan of for many, many years. He's a wonderful, kind man, and he's helping us do something really special with the podcast on April 17th. But right now, would you please kindly introduce yourself, and can you explain to listeners where we are?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening. My name is Kyle Zurevinski, and we are in the Remai Modern Saskatoon Theater right now, coming to you live.
I think for a lot of people, when they think of the Remai, they think of the beautiful exhibitions that the Remai has. I think of Hearth. But I've been lucky to come here to see a few movies, but do people forget sometimes that there's a beautiful theater in this space?
Truthfully, yes. And that is kind of part of my job, is to sort of illuminate the film program here or other events that are happening in the theater, so that people, more and more know that we have this wonderful Saskatoon Theater, and that folks can look forward to various film screenings and events that take place here. I would say more and more as the years go by, people know about it, but absolutely, it is kind of its own hidden gem in this big building.
Yeah. I should have explained what you do here at the Remai. So, Kyle, can you explain to listeners what you do here?
Well, truthfully, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, but largely my position is I'm the digital media program assistant. And one of my largest responsibilities is to curate and facilitate the film program at the museum. And so what that means is essentially programming exactly that, our film program throughout the year. We have film screenings on most Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And those programs vary from sort of community initiated screenings or sort of program blocks or family screenings. So it's a lot of variety. And then beyond that, I help with a lot of other live events and public programming and sort of AV related things around the building. And, I've been here for a while, so I just kind of get asked to do all kinds of things every now and then as well. And I'm so happy to do that. And I kind of just strongly believe in what this museum is capable of doing and is doing. So I'm usually just down for a challenge and for whatever I'm most useful at.
Our paths, you talk about the variety that you do, and our paths crossed when you've led some wonderful photography workshops at Sherbrooke Community Center where I work. So you do great community outreach, and we've worked together on Thelma Pepper walks and all, which have just been so wonderful. In terms of the podcast, you presented a wonderful opportunity to me in terms of doing a community screening that's going to happen on April 17th. So we'd love to see all you listeners come out to the Remai Modern on April 17th. We're going to be watching WALL-E, and I'll explain more about that later. But when you were thinking about what types of films to show here, Kyle, what goes into picking the films? Because there's thousands to choose from.
Sure. Yeah. I guess I come at it in a couple different directions. I guess to clarify, we have kind of three programming streams, I guess. So we have community screenings, which I could talk a little bit more about maybe when we get into our screening we're putting on together. Then we have what we call Cinema at the Museum, which is sort of these programming blocks that I put together in a variety of different ways. Either it's just based on kind of like a thematic connection or a genre connection, or something that is sort of in celebration or honoring. For example, next month, May, we have films programmed in honor of Asian Heritage Month. And so all of those films are from folks from Asian backgrounds. And, then we also have our children's block, which is Discovery Cinema. And sometimes that gets interwoven with whatever the Cinema at the Museum block is. And sometimes it's its own thing. So, for example, in April right now, we are doing a lot of coming-of-age films for our Friday Cinema at the Museum block. But on Saturdays for Discovery Cinema, we're doing sort of these action-packed, sort of very colorful family films like The Lego Movie and Speed Racer. And so it comes from a lot of different directions, but a lot of the times I'm just thinking of it usually just comes down to one good movie. If I think of one really good title, I think, okay, what could I program surrounding that? I feel strongly about this title. What can I work with in regard to that? And as time has gone on, you start to see trends in films that people are resonating with as well. Sometimes that, dictates sort of what I program as well. We have a survey here at the museum that people fill out to suggest film titles, but also give feedback on what they're interested in. So I take that into consideration as well. So it's a lot of things, I guess. Frankly, I know it's a kind of a convoluted answer, but it is convoluted for the right reason, and so that the film program can be pretty robust and diverse. Yeah.
Is it daunting at all in terms of like you talked about finding like that one great film and then you can sort of base things around that, but like is it daunting trying to like because I'm guessing your knowledge of film is very vast, Kyle.
Well, I don't know about that exactly, but I mean I watch lots of films. I'm a student of film. I have a film background. I have my own production company here in the city called Dynamic Video Imaging, where I've produced several films. So yeah, I definitely have a film background. But I mean, there's always film are like novels. You know, you're never gonna watch them all. You're never gonna read them all. So it's sort of this like never-ending sort of search for knowledge, and I take great pride in like that challenge in a sense. But at the same time, it can be daunting. Like sometimes I'm looking at the calendar, I'm like, I don't really have anything cooking yet for this. I should really start thinking about that. But I do think these things kind of happen organically, whether it's from like a conversation, whether I'm having with a friend or a colleague, or if it's just from a lot of like internet sleuthing on like films that I haven't seen yet that I want to check out. And then I watch that film and I'm like, oh, you know what? I haven't seen this yet and I want people in Saskatoon to see it. So let's get that going. And then maybe that's the film that's a catalyst for something else. So at times it's daunting, but frankly, I program pretty far in advance that I don't usually have that issue very often. But yeah.
I'm impressed in terms of being that organized and planning so far.
Well, I'm not always the most organized, just to be frank. But you know, I do work. I work at a building where there's a lot of moving parts. So you know, you need to be organized to sort of meet certain deadlines. And frankly, if it wasn't for some of those deadlines, this program might not be as organized as it is. So it's a good thing at the end of the day.
Yeah. You mentioned something there about how. If there's a film that perhaps you haven't seen and that resonates with you and you think, oh, I bet you a lot of people in Saskatoon haven't seen either. Is it hard to balance, what your interests are and what you are passionate about when it comes to film and what connects with you with what you think an audience might? And the reason why I ask is when I used to work at CBC, I would host the weekend show, and there was a part of me that would, when selecting music, it's like, okay, I love this band, but is this really a right fit for a Saturday morning between 6 and 9 in the morning? And will listeners maybe connect with it in the way that I will? So I had a lot of conversations with myself about those types of questions. Do you have those same conversations?
All the time. Definitely. Because, there's sometimes a lot of films that I enjoy that I know might be sort of challenging or maybe just not as exciting for some people. Like, give me like a 4-hour movie that's nice and slow and I'll love that. But I know that's just frankly not for everyone. And that's not to sort of like dictate anyone's taste or as a criticism, but just generally speaking, I do need to be a little bit aware of like, okay, if I'm going to program that film, maybe that's great, but maybe we shouldn't have 10 of those all month long. Let's kind of make sure, like I said, there's sort of variety and a robustness to the lineup. So for sure, I think it's great to sort of introduce people to films that they haven't seen before or maybe never would have got the chance to see. But then also mixing that in with some sort of timeless films or classics or modern classics or, kind of making sure that, there's sort of something for everyone in the film program. That is something that's really valuable to me. And that can be challenging because sometimes as like an art house theater in a sense, people might expect one certain thing from a film theater like that, but I kind of take pride in like making it as as diverse or as filled with variety as it can be, while still definitely highlighting some of those like either hidden gems or rarely seen titles. So yeah, I definitely think about that constantly. Yeah.
One of the other things I love about your theater is the fact that you were able to bring filmmakers here as well. And I came to a screening, I think it was last summer, by a Swift Current filmmaker named George Sugranis, and it was about the grasslands. It was
Right.
it's a beautiful film about an area of the province that is close to my heart because I just love it down there. But the fact that you were able to bring the filmmaker here and he could talk about it and some of the choices he made, the work that goes into it. Is it nice to when you have those types of screenings where you can bring a filmmaker in?
Oh, absolutely. Like definitely that was a special screening for sure. And just somewhat recently in early February, we had a screening of the film Universal Language with director Matthew Rankin, who was here. And that film is kind of, in my opinion, will become a Canadian classic. I truly believe that. And I think it wasn't even just I think the film is impactful on its own right, and I was so happy to have the Saskatchewan premiere here for it. But you're exactly right, Eric, to have the director here to speak to the film, and even just to have the audience connect with him and speak with him after the screening and feel a little bit more closer to that film community across Canada, I think is so special. And it's great when folks like Matthew are really generous with their time and energy. And absolutely, that we had a sold out screening for that. And sometimes you don't know how those things are going to go with like any public program. And I was just really happy that not only was it a film that I kind of believed in, and I convinced the director to come out for the screening, but that the audience and our community here in Saskatoon responded so well to it as well. And we have a couple great screenings coming up where the directors will be in attendance too, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. So yeah, when we can do that, and we have the means and available to do that, and schedules line up, I love to do that because I do think it's extremely important.
How did you convince him to come?
Okay, well, it's a bit of a long story, so I'll kind of try to keep it short. But basically, I was kind of tipped off about the film and who Matthew was. I was familiar with his work already. I had seen his prior film, but from Alex Rogalski, who is kind of like a great friend and mentor of mine. We used to work together at Paved Arts many years ago. And anyhow, he kind of tipped me off about it, and Alex and Matthew know each other. And he said, this film's coming out, like maybe reach out to him. And I was actually going to TIFF the following week, where the film was screening and having its Canadian premiere, and I knew Matthew was going to be there. And so I kid you not, we were like literally walking down King Street or whatever it was, and I walked past this man, and I'm like, I think that's Matthew Rankin. So I literally just stopped him, and I just kind of gave him my pitch, and I said, hey, I'm Kyle. Like, I work at Remai Modern in Saskatoon, and we have a film program, and I'd love to invite you out for a special screening of the film. And he was super responsive to it, and we just kept in touch, and now I can call him a friend, and that really worked out so well. So that was truly just me kind of shooting my shot. But so that stuff doesn't happen every day, obviously. But the stars really aligned on that one, and I'm so grateful for that experience.
That takes guts, Kyle.
I guess so.
You just stopped him in the street.
Well, it was really funny because the film had premiered, and I didn't get to the fancy premiere, but I was going to a non-premiere screening of it, like in a couple days or something. And I had seen like video footage on Instagram or something of it, so I knew what he looked like, and I had honestly saw it like 10 minutes before I saw him on the street. And so it was just weird, kind of like I just sort of had his face in my brain, and I was like, okay, well, like I'm never gonna have this chance again. I need to just kind of say what's up. And I told him I knew Alex, so he was like, I think that helped, obviously, not just being like, okay, who is this strange man stopping me? So whatever. No, absolutely. Things like that don't happen every day, but that was a wonderful experience. And, and I did end up seeing the film at the festival and loved the film. And the energy in the theater was so like just on fire. And I had heard people just talking about that film too, just down the street and in line. So I knew it'd be a special film to play here and that people would connect with it.
And so when you do have a theater full of people here in Saskatoon that come to it, like how does that make you feel, knowing that like, you liked it, you put in a lot of work and effort to bring it here, the director's here, and you look into the crowd and like it's full, like every seat in this theater that we're in right now is full. Like what's going through your mind at that point?
Well, for that particular night, I was a little scared because I was doing a Q&A. So the Q&A was a little, not that I was like terrified about it, but you have I had natural nerves, but beyond that, no. Like seeing a packed house is really the best feeling you can get. Like, I'm happy that our program is becoming more and more well known and is sort of you know, becoming more and more successful. But when there is a true sellout show, like to me, that not only means that people are interested in a film and are excited to come and enjoy the museum in maybe a way they don't typically do, but to me it also means that there is a sense of community building in the city. And I'd feel the same about any theater in the city if it's packed. That means something to me, like we live in a streaming age, obviously, so it's so easy to watch a movie at home. But when there's a packed house at any theater, honestly, anywhere in the world, that makes me so happy. And when it's where I work and where I put my passion and energy into, like that truly is just the best feeling. And that kind of means like, okay, like let's do another one. Let's think what worked here, and let's try to have that influence certain other programs in the future. So it's the best feeling for sure.
I really thank you for answering that, because I can tell how much this means to you. So thank you for that. I'm really curious, as someone who loves to go to the theater to watch a movie. I think there's something magical about like being in a theater and being focused on a movie. What is, Kyle, what is your pitch to people in a age where streaming is so, it's on every screen in our house, and it's so easy, but what's your pitch to get people to a movie theater these days?
Well, I do think it's a special kind of feeling to be in a theater with other people and hearing their reactions and sort of experiencing something together. That togetherness is something that I think, obviously, in the past 5 years or something like that, we've all reflected on in a different way. And I think the movie theater is, in the same way to like live music or live entertainment in general, I suppose, is just something you can't replicate anywhere else. And I do think it fosters community. I really do believe that. I've seen so many familiar faces come here to the theater, and I've seen people who didn't know each other before who now chat about movies after the film, and they're regulars. And, we have our kind of dedicated film goers, which I'm so grateful for. And again, that is just something you can't replicate at home. And when I first came into this position, when I started programming films that I knew you could watch at home, I started to wonder, like, okay, like, will people come out to this? Like, is this something that will connect with an audience? And I'm so happy to say that it does. People understand that watching, what did we play recently? I'm trying to think. Well, for instance, like we played one of my favorite films last year that we screened, Rushmore, one of my all-time favorite movies.
I love Rushmore. I love the soundtrack.
Me too.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
Yes.
So it's like I know people have either already seen this movie or B, could watch it at home. Will anyone come out to it? And I was so happy to see a very well-attended screening for that movie. That means so much to me. And so I do think that it's a pitch for sure. You're right. But at the same time, I think people also inherently know that it is a different experience. They know that when they're at home and they're streaming a film or watching it with their family at home, that's its own thing. But they also know that coming to the theater, and especially even coming to an art gallery and then into a theater, is kind of its own special experience. And I'm happy that we can kind of offer that here. And to me, it's becoming less and less of a pitch, which is what I guess I'm excited about.
Very nice. Where does your love of film come from? Like, were you a kid? Like, do you like and watching movies all the time as like a 5-6 year old? Or like, where does your passion come from?
Pretty much exactly that.
Yeah.
I never played a sport in my life, so I was just in home watching movies or television, and just basically a student of popular culture growing up, basically, and that birthed the love of film. I think definitely in high schools when my cinephilia started, for sure, of just like still going to like Blockbuster back then, or Rogers Video, and or even like local video stores that were still around then. And just, renting everything and anything and kind of digging and finding connections from films. And I mean, that's a story so many folks will tell you. And I just had that experience. I really did. I remember like when The Social Network came out, that movie kind of blew my mind, and I loved kind of everything about it. So I started like a film club in my high school, and like there was like 4 people that would show up.
What high school?
Bethlehem.
Oh, nice.
Shout out Stars. And Yeah, I don't think it lasted very long, but it was just like an excuse. It was just an excuse to talk about movies and kind of like nerd out. And I am obsessed with the Oscars more than any person should be. And yeah, it's just a very much an interest of mine, and I care about what filmmaking means. And having made films, I know what it means to workers and people and craftspeople. And I just think that film is a kind of a beautiful language in its own right. And I'm happy that I have a job that is sort of in line with that in any way.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I also feel slightly old now because, like, you're talking about high school with the social network, and when I think of high school, I remember in grade 12 skipping Mr. Yee's English class to go stand in line for the Phantom Menace, the Star Wars film. And I remember I got down there with like 5 or 6 friends, and we changed into our Star Wars gear and lightsabers. And then my mom, who was a nurse, after her shift was done, she came and joined me in line. And we were.
Awesome.
It was awesome. Slightly disappointed by the film, but
yeah,
but still,
that's fair. I mean, gosh, what year did that come out? I was a child, very young when that came out. I remember my dad was so excited, and so he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna bring my son to see the new Star Wars." We sit down, 5 minutes in, I'm asleep the whole time.
Oh, no.
I don't remember anything about the Phantom Menace, and whatever. I think he had fun, but he always jokes about that.
That's too funny. But you're so right about a communal experience, whether in the theater or even standing in line, and there's something special about that.
Totally. And I guess like more about community, like the community screenings that we have here at the museum, I think are really special. And so the way those work is that they are free screenings that are kind of initiated by a partnership with either a community organization or a arts collective or a settlement agency or anything that's kind of supporting the community or supporting our city in any way. We partner with those folks so that we can screen a film, have that organization have the chance to speak more about their own community and sort of what they believe in, and have an opportunity to create community in the theater. And so we screen a film. Sometimes we'll have like a panel discussion. Sometimes we won't. I like to leave that kind of like agency and autonomy a little bit with the partner, and I like to work with them to sort of put something that we're both really happy about. And those screenings have been really, really successful in bringing people together and bringing people who have never even been in the museum before, let alone the theater, to experience a film. And we've had such great community screenings in the past, and I think that has really invigorated the film program in a lot of ways and brought, like I said, a lot of new folks and new faces into the theater. And those mean so much to me, and we've done so many good ones in the past, and we have so many good ones coming in the future. And I keep hearing more and more that people like those, so that means something to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to screen a film that's very close to my heart, which is WALL-E, the Pixar classic. And when we were talking and you gave me the opportunity to pitch you a film, I thought of WALL-E right away because I think of WALL-E, the character, as someone who does work that maybe isn't the flashiest of work, but he does it because he's passionate about doing it, and he does it because he loves doing it, not because he's seeking the spotlight or whatever. And I think that just connects so well with the podcast, because the guests that I have on the podcast and the organizations that I feature are doing the work because they know it's important work and they're passionate about it, and they're not doing it for the spotlight until someone comes with a microphone and shoves it in their face and says, "Why do you do this work?" So I'm very grateful to you, Kyle, for doing this on the 17th. What should people know about the screening on the 17th?
Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for partnering with us. I'm a fan of the podcast, and I'm happy to be involved in any way. And when you pitched the film to me, at first, I'll be honest, I was like, okay, like I love WALL-E. It's my favorite Pixar film personally, and I was like, okay, but like there's got to be a story to this, or sort of like another layer. And so when you kind of told me what your thoughts, I thought that was just a really wonderful way to look at it, and even another way to kind of look at community screenings. So I was really happy with that. And what people need to know: April 17th, 7 p.m. Remai Modern Saskatoon Theatre, free, open to the public. WALL-E, of course, a children's film, or our family film. So bring the family to this. If you're available, I think it's gonna be a wonderful night. I should also say that we're playing a little short film that you've sent my way that you and some collaborators have made, and we'll be screening that before the film as well. So you can check that out.
I could totally forgot. I forgot that I was so focused on Wally. Kyle, thank you for mentioning that.
You're welcome.
So this is a little short film that Molly Shikowski and I made with a whole bunch of previous YXC Underground guests, just as a way to sort of celebrate 7 seasons of the podcast. And you were graciously screening that. It's like a minute and a half, but it's right before Wally. So thanks for reminding me.
You're welcome. And you actually initially sent me that, and I was happy. I thought it was a very fun video, and like as I said, I'm a fan of the podcast, so I saw familiar faces or kind of put voices to faces in a way. But it just felt like, okay, we're going to play this. Let's do something with the podcast. Yeah. It makes, it would probably make more sense for everyone that way. And yeah, I'm really happy to screen that. And I'm invite everyone to come and check out the film and to, engage with the film program as well. I'll say that, if you get our Amy Modern membership, films are free. So it's a steal of a deal. If you're a film lover, it's over 100 movies a year for free. Can you believe that?
I can't.
You believe that?
No.
Anyway, yeah. So I'm looking forward to the screening. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Thanks for taking time out today to do this in the wonderful theater. I've had a couple of people ask, is popcorn served here?
Popcorn currently is not served here.
Okay.
It's a common question. So I always ask people to keep asking, because the more you ask, the more possibly things could change in the future, but I can't speak to that at this moment.
Okay. No, I just wanted to touch on that too. I remember the popcorn, but I forget about the podcast short film. That's before Wally. Oh, smooth, Eric. Kyle, thank you so much for everything. This has been so much fun, not only this conversation, but working with you for the last couple of months to make this happen, and I'm so excited for the 17th. You are a wonderful human being, and our city's lucky to have you here, and thanks for all the work that you do.
Thank you so much, Eric. That means so much. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Have a good day.